The research ship Harmony's Light drifted quietly through space near the third planet of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Kale stood on the bridge watching the stars through the clear viewing window. His 6 crew members worked at their stations, taking readings and collecting data about the strange rocks floating in this part of space. Kale was proud of his ship and crew. They had traveled farther from their homeworld than any Villani before them. For 8 months they had been studying the mineral formations in this asteroid belt. The rocks here contained metals that did not exist anywhere near their planet. Back home, the scientists were very excited about their discoveries. "Captain, the morning shift is ready to begin the deep scans," said Science Officer Nira from her station. She was young for such an important job, but her mind worked faster than most Villani twice her age. "Very good, Nira. Begin when ready," Kyle replied. He walked over to look at her screen. The data showed dozens of asteroids rich in rare metals. Some contained crystals that could store energy better than anything they had ever found. The Harmony's Light was not like the warships that existed in stories. The Villani had never needed such things. Their ship was built for discovery and learning. It had large windows to see the stars clearly. It had powerful computers to study what they found. It had comfortable rooms for the crew to live in during long trips. But it had no weapons except small mining tools to break apart rocks for study. This was normal for the Villani. They had never met another species that traveled between stars. They had never fought wars between their own people. When they had problems, they talked until they found answers that made everyone happy. The idea that someone might want to hurt them for no reason was so strange that they could not even imagine it. "Captain, I am getting some unusual readings from the navigation array," called out Engineer Zell from the back of the bridge. His voice sounded worried. Kale walked over to see what was wrong. The navigation system was very important. Without it, they could not find their way home through the vast emptiness of space. "What kind of readings?" "The solar storm that passed through yesterday seems to have damaged some of the sensitive equipment. The quantum compass is giving wrong directions. The star charts are not matching what we can see outside," Zell explained. Captain Kale felt his first moment of real concern since they had left home. "Can you fix it?" Zell studied his instruments for several minutes. His face grew more worried as he worked. "I can fix it, but it will take time. Maybe several days." "And Captain, there is another problem. The damage has affected our communication system too." "What do you mean?" asked Nira, looking up from her science station. "The transmitter is still working, but the signal processor has been damaged. When we send messages, they might not say what we want them to say. The computer that turns our words into space signals is broken," Zell said. Kale thought about this carefully. They were very far from home. If something serious went wrong, they would need to call for help. But if their distress signal was broken, other Villani ships might not understand what they needed. "How broken is it?" Kale asked. "I'm not sure, Captain." "The damage is in the quantum translation matrix. That is the part that makes sure our language comes out correctly on the other end. Without it working properly, our messages might say something completely different from what we intend." The bridge became quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Every Villani on board understood how serious this was. They were explorers, not engineers who specialized in fixing complicated equipment. 2 days passed. Zell worked almost without sleeping to repair the navigation system. The other crew members helped as much as they could, but the damage was worse than anyone had first thought. The solar storm had been much stronger than the instruments had measured. On the 3rd day, disaster struck. While Zell was working deep inside the navigation computer, something went wrong with the ship's main power system. The Harmony's Light shuddered and all the lights went out for several seconds. When power returned, half of their systems were not working correctly. "Captain," Zell said, his voice now filled with real fear, "the navigation system is completely dead. I cannot fix it with the tools and parts we have on board. We are lost." Captain Kale felt his stomach drop. Lost in space meant they would drift here forever. Their food would run out. Their air would run out. No one would ever find them in this empty place between stars. "What about the communication system? Can we call for help?" he asked. Zell checked his instruments. "The transmitter still works. But remember, the signal processor is damaged. I have no way to know what our messages will sound like when they reach other ships." "We have to try," said Nira. "It is our only chance." Captain Kyle nodded. "Send out a distress call. Tell any ship that can hear us that we need help with navigation. Tell them we are peaceful researchers who want to return home. Make it clear that we are not dangerous. Zhel worked at his station for an hour, carefully crafting the message. He used the simplest words he could think of. He repeated the message several times to make sure it would be understood. The message he tried to send was, "Greetings to any ships that can hear this transmission. We are peaceful researchers from the Villani species. Our navigation system has failed and we cannot find our way home. We need assistance with repairs or guidance. We mean no harm to anyone. Please help us." But when the message passed through the damaged signal processor, something terrible happened. The quantum translation matrix was so badly broken that it changed everything. The words that actually went out into space were completely different. Far away at the edge of human space, monitoring stations picked up the signal. The powerful computers at Earth Defense Command worked to translate the alien message. What they heard was this: "Attention, primitive species. We are the Villani. We have come to claim this sector of space. Your worlds now belong to us. Surrender immediately or we will destroy everything you have built. We are many. We are heavily armed. Resistance is futile. Compliance is not optional." Admiral Hyun stood in the command center of Earth Defense, staring at the translation on the main screen. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, all of them looking worried and afraid. "Are we certain this translation is correct?" Admiral Hyun asked the head of communications. "Yes, sir. We have run it through 17 different translation programs. They all give the same result. This is definitely a threat of invasion." Admiral Hyun was a career military officer who had spent 40 years protecting Earth and its colonies. He had never faced an alien invasion before, but he had trained for this possibility his entire life. "Where did the signal come from?" "The Kepler 442 system, sir. About 15 light-years from Earth." "How long would it take them to reach our space if they left immediately?" The navigation officer calculated quickly. "If they have faster-than-light travel similar to ours, they could be here in 2 weeks. Admiral Hyun looked around the room at his officers. These were good people who had families and homes to protect. The thought of an alien invasion force heading toward Earth made his blood run cold. "Send an immediate message to Captain Dae-ho Kim on the Retribution. Tell him to prepare for emergency deployment. Sir, the Retribution is our most powerful warship. Are you sure we need to respond with that level of force?" asked his aide. "They threaten to destroy everything we have built," Admiral Hyun replied. "That sounds like they are planning to commit genocide against the human race." "Yes, I am sure." The TDS Retribution was the newest and most dangerous ship in the human fleet. It had been designed to fight entire enemy fleets by itself. Its quantum torpedoes could crack the surface of a moon. Its adaptive armor could learn from enemy attacks and become stronger. Its artificial intelligence could target and destroy 1,000 enemy ships at the same time. Captain Dae-ho Kim had commanded the Retribution for 2 years. He was considered one of the finest military minds in human space. His crew of 200 was trained to the highest possible standards. They had practiced fighting alien invasions and simulations hundreds of times. "Captain, we have urgent orders from Earth Defense Command," reported Communications Officer Yunsu Han. Dae-ho read the message on his personal screen. His expression grew serious as he understood what was happening. "All hands, this is the captain. Report to battle stations immediately. This is not a drill. We have received a credible threat of alien invasion. Prepare for immediate departure." The bridge of the Retribution came alive with activity. Officers ran to their positions. Screens lit up with weapon status reports. The ship's powerful engines began to warm up for departure. Lieutenant Commander Soo-Jin Park, the tactical officer, looked at her instruments. "Captain, all weapon systems are ready. Shields are at maximum power. We can depart in 10 minutes. Very good. Navigator, plot a course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed." "Sir, at maximum speed we can be there in 36 hours, reported Lieutenant Yejin Ko. "Make it so. Dr. Choi, I want a full analysis of what we might be facing when we arrive." Dr. Jae-won Choi was the ship's expert on alien life. He had studied every theory about what other species might be like. "Captain, based on the message, we should expect a technologically advanced species with aggressive intentions. The fact that they sent a warning suggests." The Retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge, watching the main screen as the ship's sensors began scanning for enemy vessels. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. preparing for what they believed would be humanity's first war with aliens. Tactical report, Daeho ordered. Lieutenant Commander Sujin Park studied her instruments carefully. Sir, I am detecting one vessel in the asteroid belt near the third planet. It appears to be much smaller than expected. How small? About the size of a research ship, Captain. Maybe 200 meters long. I am reading minimal armor plating and very weak energy shields. Daeho frowned. This did not match what he had expected from a species that threatened to destroy human civilization. Weapons. That is the strange part, sir. I can only detect what appear to be mining lasers. Nothing that could threaten a military vessel. Dr. Jaewon Choi looked up from his science station. Captain, could this be some kind of scout ship? Maybe they sent a small vessel ahead to study our defenses. Possible, Daeho replied. But where is the main invasion fleet? Navigator, scan the entire system for other ships. Lieutenant Yejin Ko worked at her station for several minutes, using every sensor the Retribution had available. Sir, there are no other ships in this system. This single vessel is the only artificial object here besides asteroids and space debris. The bridge fell quiet as everyone tried to understand what this meant. They had traveled here expecting to fight a massive alien invasion force. Instead, they had found one small, lightly armed ship that looked like it belonged to scientists, not warriors. Could they be hiding their other ships somehow? Asked Chief Engineer Min-Ho Lee. It is possible, Sujin replied. But our sensors can detect ships even when they are powered down or using stealth technology. I am not finding anything. Daeho studied the image of the alien ship on the main screen. It had large windows and what looked like scientific equipment attached to the outside. It did not look like any warship he had ever seen. Communications, have they responded to our presence? Communications specialist Yoon Soo-han shook her head. No, sir. They are not transmitting anything on any frequency we can detect. Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's light, the Vellani crew was experiencing their own confusion and growing fear. They had been drifting in space for 4 days, hoping someone would answer their distress call. When their sensors detected a ship approaching, Captain Kale felt relief and joy. A ship is coming, he announced to his crew. We are saved. But as the unknown vessel came closer, that joy turned to worry and then to terror. The ship that appeared on their screens was enormous. It was easily 10 times larger than anything the Vellani had ever built. Its hull was covered with what looked like weapon ports and armor plating. It moved through space with the grace of a predator stalking its prey. Captain, Science Officer Nira said, her voice shaking. That ship? It is built for fighting. Look at the design. Everything about it is meant for war. Engineer Zhel studied his instruments. The energy readings are incredible. This ship has enough power to destroy our entire world. And Captain, those are definitely weapons pointed at us. Captain Kale felt a fear unlike anything he had ever experienced. The Vellani had lived in peace for so long that they had almost forgotten what it felt like to be truly afraid. Try to contact them. Tell them we are peaceful. Tell them we need help. But their communication system was still broken. When Zhel tried to send a message, only static came out. To the humans watching, it looked like the aliens were refusing to communicate. Back on the Retribution, Dr. Choi was studying every detail of the alien ship. Something about it bothered him, but he could not quite figure out what it was. Captain, I have been analyzing the design of their vessel. It is very strange for a warship. How so? Look at these scans. They have huge windows that would be a weak point in battle. Their sensor arrays are positioned for maximum scientific efficiency, not tactical advantage. Their hull is designed to be lightweight, not to withstand weapon fire. Commander Sung-Min Yoon, the weapons officer, disagreed. That could be a trick. Maybe they want us to think they are weak so we will not be ready when they attack. But sir, Dr. Choi continued, their power systems are all wrong for a warship too. They have solar collectors that would be useless in battle. Their engines are designed for efficiency during long trips, not for quick movements in combat. Captain Daeho listened to both officers. His military training told him to be careful and assume the worst. But his instincts were telling him that something was not right about this situation. Keep scanning. I want to know everything about that ship before we make contact. Lieutenant Commander Park continued her tactical analysis. Sir, I have completed a full weapons scan. That ship could not damage us even if they fired everything they have for a full hour. Their mining lasers might scratch our paint, but they cannot penetrate even our weakest shields. Then why did they send such a threatening message? Asked Navigator Ko. Maybe it was meant to frighten us into surrendering without a fight. suggested Engineer Lee. Dr. Choi looked at his readings again. Something was definitely wrong here. Captain, what if there was a problem with the translation of their message? What if they did not mean to threaten us? You think it was a mistake? Daeho asked. I think it is possible. Look at this ship. Everything about it suggests peaceful exploration, not military conquest. What if they were asking for help, not making threats? Before Captain Daeho could respond to this idea, alarms began sounding on both ships. On the Harmony's light, a young Villani engineer named Thal was trying to fix the communication system. He was nervous because of the huge warship pointing weapons at them. His hands were shaking as he worked. Thal made a mistake. He accidentally activated the mining laser array while trying to repair the message transmitter. The mining lasers were normally used to break apart asteroids so the scientists could study the pieces. They were never meant to be used as weapons, but the beams shot out from the Harmony's light directly toward the Retribution. On the human warship, every alarm on the bridge began screaming at once. Incoming weapons fire. Lieutenant Commander Park shouted. They are attacking us! The mining laser beams struck the Retribution's shields and bounced off harmlessly. To the human crew, it looked like the aliens had fired the first shot of the war. To the Villani crew, it looked like their ship had just attacked the most dangerous vessel they had ever seen. Return fire. Captain Daeho ordered, his military training taking control. Sir, wait! Dr. Choi called out. Those beams barely registered on our shields. If they wanted to hurt us, they would have used something stronger. But Commander Yoon had already selected a target. Quantum torpedo ready, Captain. Should I target their ship? Daeho hesitated for a crucial moment. If he destroyed the alien ship, they might never know if this had all been a misunderstanding. No, fire a warning shot. Target that large asteroid to starboard. Let them see what our weapons can do. Yes, sir, Yoon replied. He adjusted his targeting system and fired a single quantum torpedo at an asteroid that was roughly the size of a city block. The results were spectacular and terrifying. The quantum torpedo struck the asteroid and the entire rock simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there and the next moment there was nothing but empty space and a few tiny pieces of debris. The explosion was so powerful that it damaged 3 other asteroids nearby and created a shockwave that could be detected from the edge of the star system. Aboard the Harmony's light, every member of the Villani crew watched in absolute horror as an entire asteroid was destroyed in the blink of an eye. They had never seen anything like it. They had never imagined that such destruction was possible. Captain Kale could not speak for several minutes. His mind could not process what he had just witnessed. Engineer Zhel was making quiet whimpering sounds. Science Officer Nira was staring at her instruments, unable to believe the energy readings she was seeing. They destroyed an entire asteroid, Nira whispered. How is that possible? What kind of beings carry weapons like that? And they only fired 1 shot, Zell added. Look at their ship. They have dozens of weapons ports. They could destroy our entire world. Captain Kale finally found his voice. Zell, can you fix the communication system? We need to tell them we surrender. We need to tell them we never meant to attack them. I am trying, Captain, but the damage is too severe. I cannot make it work properly. On the Retribution, the crew was dealing with their own shock. Dr. Choi had been watching the Villani ship's reaction to the destruction of the asteroid. What he saw did not look like military analysis or tactical planning. It looked like pure terror. Captain, look at their bio readings, Dr. Choi said urgently. Their heart rates are off the charts. Their brain activity shows extreme fear. This is not how trained warriors react to a demonstration of enemy firepower. How do they react? Asked Captain Daeho. This is how civilians react when they realize they are about to die. Communications Specialist Han looked up from her station. Sir, I am detecting attempts at communication from the alien ship, but the signals are very distorted. It looks like their equipment might be damaged. Can you clean it up? I am trying, but it will take... The silence that followed the destruction of the asteroid was deafening on both ships. Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the empty space where a mountain-sized rock had existed moments before. The tactical display showed the alien ship had stopped all movement and was simply floating in space. Status report on the alien vessel, Daeho ordered. Lieutenant Commander Sujin Park checked her instruments. Sir, they have powered down all their systems except life support. Their mining lasers are offline. They are not moving or taking any defensive actions. That does not make sense, said Commander Sungmin Yoon from the weapons station. If they are planning to invade human space, why would they surrender so easily after one warning shot? Dr. Jaewon Choi was studying the biological readings from the alien ship. What he saw made him increasingly uncomfortable. Captain, I need to show you something important. Daeho walked over to the science station. What is it? I have been monitoring the life signs aboard their vessel. Look at these readings. Dr. Choi pointed to several displays showing heart rate, brain activity, and stress hormone levels. These beings are experiencing extreme terror. Not the kind of fear that soldiers feel before battle, but the kind of panic that civilians feel when they think they are about to die. You are certain about this? Yes, sir. I have studied alien biology theory for 15 years. These readings are consistent with a prey species that has encountered a predator. They are not preparing for battle. They are preparing for death. Chief Engineer Min-Ho Lee looked up from his station. Sir, I have completed the energy analysis of their ship. The weapon that fired at us was definitely a mining laser. It is designed to break apart rocks, not to damage starships. Even if they fired it continuously for days, it could not penetrate our shields. Navigator Lieutenant Ye-Jin Ko added her own observations. Captain, I have been studying their flight pattern since we arrived. They are not moving like a military vessel. They are drifting randomly, like a ship with navigation problems. Captain Daeho felt a growing sense of unease. Everything his crew was telling him suggested that these aliens were not the dangerous invaders they had been expecting. But the message that Earth had received was clearly a threat of invasion. Communications, any progress on cleaning up their transmissions? Communications specialist Yoon Soo-han worked frantically at her station. Sir, their communication system appears to be severely damaged. I am getting fragments of messages, but they are being distorted by some kind of equipment failure. What kind of fragments? Words like help and peaceful and lost, but they are mixed in with corrupted data that I cannot translate. On the bridge of the Harmony's Light, Captain Kale and his crew were struggling with their own crisis. The demonstration of human firepower had shaken them to their core. They had never imagined that such weapons could exist. How many ships like that do they have? Asked Science Officer Nira, her voice barely above a whisper. Engineer Zhel checked his readings. Based on the construction materials and technology level I can detect, they could probably build dozens of ships like that. Maybe hundreds. And they used that terrible weapon just to show us what they could do, added young Engineer Thal, who was still shaking from guilt over accidentally firing the mining laser. Captain Kale tried to stay calm for his crew, but inside he was terrified. Keep trying to repair the communication system. If we can talk to them, maybe we can convince them that we mean no harm. Captain, Nira said suddenly, I have been thinking about this. They could have destroyed us instantly when we accidentally fired at them. But they did not. They fired at an asteroid instead. Maybe they are trying to communicate with us. What do you mean? They showed us how powerful their weapons are, but they did not hurt us. Maybe they are giving us a chance to surrender peacefully. Zhel nodded eagerly. That makes sense. If they wanted to kill us, we would already be dead. They must want something from us. But what could we possibly have that beings like that would want? Asked Thal. Captain Kale thought about this question. The Villani had always been a peaceful species. They had no military secrets to steal. Their technology was advanced in some areas, but clearly far behind these aliens in terms of weapons. What could they offer to avoid destruction? Meanwhile, aboard the Retribution, Dr. Choi was making a breakthrough in understanding the alien transmission that had started this whole crisis. Captain, I think I know what happened, Dr. Choi announced. Explain. I have been working with the original message that Earth received. I ran it through our most advanced translation programs and compared it with the fragments we are receiving now from their damaged communication system. And? Sir, I believe the original message was not a threat. I think it was a distress call that was corrupted during transmission. Captain Daeho stared at the scientist. You are telling me that we brought our most powerful warship here to respond to a call for help? That is exactly what I am telling you, sir. Look at this analysis. Dr. Choi put the data on the main screen. The mathematical structure of their language is completely different from ours. When their damaged communication system tried to translate their words into something we could understand, it made terrible mistakes. What was the real message? Based on the fragments I am receiving now, I believe they were asking for assistance with navigation problems. They are lost and want to go home. The bridge fell silent as the implications of this revelation sank in. Commander Yoon was the first to speak. If that is true, then we just threatened a group of lost scientists with complete annihilation. Lieutenant Commander Park looked at her tactical display. Sir, their ship design makes sense now. It is built for long-range exploration and research. The large windows are for observation. The exposed equipment is for scientific measurements. They never expected to encounter hostile forces. Engineer Lee shook his head in disbelief. We brought a ship capable of destroying planets to answer a distress call. Navigator Ko was studying the alien ship's position and movement. Captain, they have been drifting in this asteroid belt for days. Their navigation system must be completely dead. They probably fired that mining laser by accident while trying to repair their equipment. Dr. Choi continued his analysis. Sir, there is something else. Based on their ship design and what I can detect of their biology, I do not think this species has ever fought a war. What makes you say that? Everything about them suggests a species that evolved without natural predators. Their ship has no redundant systems for battle damage. Their crew positions are optimized for comfort and efficiency, not for combat. Their technology focuses on exploration and discovery, not on weapons or defense. You are saying they are completely peaceful? I am saying they may not even understand the concept of warfare as we know it. To them, our response must seem completely insane. Captain Daeho walked to the center of the bridge and looked at the image of the alien ship on the main screen. It looked so small and fragile compared to the retribution. If Dr. Choi was right, then humanity had just made the worst possible first impression with a peaceful alien species. Communications. Have you made any progress with their transmissions? Specialist Han looked up excitedly. Sir, I think I have something. Listen to this. She played a brief audio clip. The words were distorted and hard to understand, but they could make out, "Please, no harm. We are peaceful. Help us." The bridge fell completely silent. Every officer stared at the speakers as the meaning became clear. These aliens were not invaders. They were victims of a terrible misunderstanding who were now begging for their lives. Dr. Choi, Captain Daeho said quietly, in your professional opinion, what is the likelihood that this species poses any threat to humanity? Based on everything I have observed, sir, I would say 0. Their ship could not threaten a civilian transport, much less a military vessel. They have no weapons, no armor, and no understanding of combat tactics. If they have a home fleet, it is probably just as peaceful as this ship. And what is the likelihood that we have terrified a group of innocent scientists who were simply asking for help? Dr. Choi looked at his readings one more time before answering. Sir, I would say that is almost certainly what has happened. Captain Daeho felt a weight settle on his shoulders unlike anything he had ever experienced in his military career. He had been trained to protect humanity from threats. But what if humanity itself was becoming the threat? All stations stand down from battle alert. Maintain defensive posture only. He turned to his communications officer. Han, I want you to use every resource we have to establish proper communication with that ship. We need to fix this situation before it gets any worse. Yes, sir, Han replied, already working at her station. Commander Yoon looked confused. Captain, what are our orders if this is really just a misunderstanding? Daeho thought about this question. Admiral Hyun had sent them here to deal with an alien invasion threat. But there was no invasion. There was only a small research ship full of lost scientists who had accidentally sent a garbled distress call. Our orders were to neutralize the threat to humanity, Daeho said finally. If there is no threat, then our job is to make sure we do not create one ourselves. As the crew of the Retribution worked to establish proper 3 days had passed since the two ships first encountered each other in the Kepler 442 system. What had begun as a potential interstellar war had transformed into something neither species could have imagined. The galaxy's first peaceful first contact between two completely different civilizations. Chief Engineer Min-ho, Lee floated in zero gravity inside the engine compartment of the Harmony's light, working alongside Vellani Engineer Zhel to repair the damaged navigation array. The two beings could not have been more different physically, but they had discovered that the language of engineering was universal. Your quantum compass design is fascinating, Min-ho said through the translation device that communications specialist Han had developed. We use brute force calculations to navigate hyperspace, but you use harmonic resonance with quantum fields. Gel manipulated a crystalline component with his four-fingered hands. Your approach is much more direct and powerful. Our method is more elegant, but it breaks easily when exposed to solar storms. Perhaps we could combine both approaches? I would like that very much, Minho replied. This was exactly the kind of technological exchange that could benefit both species for centuries to come. On the bridge of the Retribution, Dr. Jaewon Choi was engaged in the most exciting scientific discussion of his career with Villani science officer Nira. They had been sharing data about their respective methods of studying alien worlds and solar systems. Your approach to atmospheric analysis is incredible, Dr. Choi said, studying the data on his screen. We use orbital probes and remote sensing, but you actually sample the quantum signatures of gases from light years away. We learned to do that because we wanted to study many worlds without traveling to all of them, Nira explained. Your probes give much more detailed information, but our method lets us survey hundreds of worlds quickly to find the most interesting ones. What is the most remarkable world you have discovered? Dr. Choi asked. Nira's expression became excited in a way that Dr. Choi was learning to recognize. We found a world where the water falls upward during certain seasons. The entire planet has reverse gravity zones that shift with the orbital mechanics. We spent 2 years trying to understand how it works, Nir. Did you figure it out? Partially. The planet has a core made of exotic matter that creates temporal distortions. But we had to leave before completing our study because our funding mission ended. Dr. Choi made a note in his personal log. When humanity and the Villani established formal relations, he wanted to be part of the joint expedition to study that world. Meanwhile, in the command centers of both ships, the two captains were dealing with the larger implications of their encounter. Captain Dae-ho Kim had spent the morning writing his report to Admiral Hyun, trying to explain how humanity's most powerful warship had ended up providing roadside assistance to lost alien scientists. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Soo-Jin Park said, approaching his command chair, I have been thinking about the tactical implications of our encounter with the Villani. Go ahead. Sir, if there are peaceful species like them scattered throughout the galaxy, our current first contact protocols could create serious problems. We are trained to assume hostility and prepare for the worst. But what if the worst-case scenario is that we accidentally start a war with people who never wanted to fight? Dae-ho considered this carefully. What do you suggest? I think we need to develop new protocols specifically for contact with peaceful species. Ways to de-escalate situations quickly if we determine there is no actual threat. Write up a proposal. I will include it in my report to Fleet Command. On the bridge of the Harmony's Light, Captain Kale was having his own difficult conversation with his crew about the implications of meeting humanity. Captain, Science Officer Nira said, I have been thinking about what we learned about human history. If there are other species in the galaxy that are warlike like humans were in their past, we could be in great danger. What do you mean? Asked Engineer Gell. We have no defenses against military technology. Our ships, our worlds, our entire civilization is completely helpless against weapons like the ones on that human warship. If we encounter a species that wants to hurt us, we could not protect ourselves. Captain Kale had been thinking about the same problem. But the humans also showed us that even warlike species can choose peace. They could have destroyed us easily, but they chose to help us instead. That is true, Nira agreed. But what if the next species we meet makes a different choice? This question had no easy answer. The Villani would need to completely rethink their approach to interstellar exploration. They could no longer assume that all intelligent life would be peaceful like themselves. Young Engineer Thal, who had accidentally triggered the crisis by firing the mining laser, spoke up quietly. Maybe we could ask the humans to teach us how to protect ourselves. Not to become warlike, but to at least be able to defend our families if necessary. It was a revolutionary idea for the Villani. They had never considered learning military technology before. But meeting humanity had taught them that the galaxy was more complex and dangerous than they had believed. After 3 days of repairs and cultural exchange, the navigation system of the Harmony's Light was finally working properly. Both crews gathered in the main bay of the human warship for a farewell ceremony that would be remembered by both species forever. Captain Dae-ho stood before the assembled crews, looking at the mixture of humans and Villani who had worked together to turn a potential disaster into a triumph of cooperation. 3 days ago, We came here expecting to fight the first interstellar war in human history, Deho began. Instead, we made the first interstellar friends in human history. We learned that the galaxy is big enough for both warriors and peacemakers, destroyers and creators, predators and prey. Captain Kale stepped forward to respond. 3 days ago, we thought we were lost and alone in the universe. We discovered that we were not alone, and that even when first meetings go wrong, intelligent beings can choose to make them right. The two captains exchanged gifts that their crews had prepared. The humans gave the Villani a crystalline data storage device containing all of humanity's scientific knowledge about space navigation and communication systems. It would help the Villani explore the galaxy more safely. The Villani gave the humans a harmonic resonance generator that could detect the quantum signatures of life-bearing worlds from incredible distances. It would help humanity find new worlds to explore and potentially new species to meet. Captain Kim, Captain Kale said as the ceremony concluded, "When we return home, our government will want to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. We would like to invite representatives from Earth to visit our world." "We would be honored," Deho replied, "and we would like to invite your people to visit Earth as well. Our scientists would learn much from yours." As the two ships prepared to depart, Navigator Lieutenant Yejin Ko established new communication protocols that would allow the species to stay in contact across interstellar distances. The mathematical and musical language that communications specialist Han had developed would become the foundation for all future human-Villani communications. Dr. Choi and Science Officer Nira exchanged their personal research notes and promised to collaborate on studies of the unusual worlds they had each discovered. Their partnership would lead to discoveries that neither species could have made. Alone, engineers Lee and Zell completed the final tests of the repaired navigation system and began planning a joint engineering project to develop safer, more reliable interstellar travel technology. Even the military officers found common ground. Commander Park and the Villani security coordinator discussed ways to protect peaceful exploration vessels without turning them into warships. Their ideas would eventually lead to new defensive technologies that could protect without threatening. As the Harmony's light powered up its engines for the journey home, Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the alien ship prepare to depart. He thought about how close they had come to disaster, and how fortunate both species were that cooler heads had prevailed. "Sir," Communications Specialist Han called out, "Captain Kale is sending a final message." "Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with the beautiful mathematical music of the Villani language, followed by Han's translation. "Thank you for showing us that even the fiercest warriors can choose mercy. Thank you for teaching us that the galaxy is both more dangerous and more wonderful than we knew. Until we meet again, travel safely among the stars." Captain Deho activated his own communication system. "Thank you for showing us that not every unknown signal is a threat. Thank you for teaching us that some of the most important battles are the ones we choose not to fight. May your journey home be swift and safe." The Harmony's light engaged its repaired navigation system and disappeared into hyperspace, carrying its crew of scientists back to their peaceful world with stories that would change Villani civilization forever. The Retribution remained in the Kepler 442 system for several more hours while Captain Deho completed his final report to Admiral Hyun. The report would fundamentally change human first contact protocols and lead to the establishment of the Diplomatic Contact Division within the Terran Defense Force. Admiral Hyun's response came. Captain Deho Kim faced the most difficult decision of his military career. Standing on the bridge of the most powerful warship humanity had ever built, he stared at the small alien research vessel that floated helplessly in space. His orders from Admiral Hyun had been clear: neutralize the alien threat. But what if there was no threat to neutralize? "Communications, what is your status on establishing contact?" Deho asked. Specialist Yun Su-han looked up from her station, where she had been working for 2 hours straight. "Sir, I think I am making progress. Their language appears to be based on mathematical harmonies and musical patterns. It is completely different from any human language, but I am starting to understand the basic structure. How long until we can have a real conversation?" "Maybe another hour, sir." "But Captain, I have been able to decode some of their recent transmissions. They are definitely asking us not to hurt them. They keep saying they are peaceful and that they need help." Dr. Jaewon Choi looked up from his science station. Captain, I have more information about their species. Based on biological scans, they appear to be herbivores with no natural predators. Their brain structures suggest they have no capacity for aggressive behavior. You mean they cannot fight even if they wanted to? It is more than that, sir. I do not think they understand the concept of violence between intelligent beings. To them, the idea of one species attacking another for no reason would be like humans trying to understand why gravity suddenly reversed itself. Lieutenant Commander Soo-Jin Park was monitoring the alien ship's actions. Sir, they have been running continuous scans of our vessel. But they are not looking for weak points or tactical information. They seem to be trying to understand how our technology works. Scientific curiosity even when they think they are about to die, observed Chief Engineer Min-Ho Lee. That supports Dr. Choi's theory about them being peaceful researchers. Navigator. Lieutenant Yejin Ko had been studying the alien ship's position and the surrounding asteroid field. Captain, I think I understand what they were doing out here. This asteroid belt contains very rare minerals that do not exist anywhere near inhabited star systems. They were probably conducting a long-term research mission. How long-term? Based on the equipment I can see attached to their ship, probably several months. Maybe longer. They came a very long way from home to study these rocks. Captain Daeho absorbed this information. The picture that was forming was of a peaceful scientific expedition that had suffered equipment failure far from home. Their distress call had been corrupted by damaged equipment and misunderstood by humans as a declaration of war. Sir, Communications Specialist Han called out excitedly. I think I have established basic communication. They are responding to my mathematical greeting protocols. Put it on speakers. The bridge filled with sounds unlike anything the human crew had ever heard. It was like listening to music and mathematics at the same time. The alien language was beautiful and complex, with harmonies that seemed to carry emotional meaning along with the actual words. After several minutes, Han was able to provide a rough translation. Captain, they are saying, please do not destroy us. We are peaceful beings who study the stars. We never meant to threaten anyone. We only wanted to return to our families. The bridge fell silent. Every human officer felt the weight of what they had done. They had brought instruments of mass destruction to threaten beings who had never hurt anyone and never would. Can you translate a response? Daeho asked. I think so, sir. What would you like to say? Daeho thought carefully about his words. This was probably the most important conversation in human history. Tell them. Tell them that we understand there has been a misunderstanding. Tell them we do not want to hurt them. Tell them we want to help. Han worked at her station for several minutes translating the message into the alien mathematical language. When she transmitted it, the response from the alien ship was immediate and emotional. Sir, they are crying. They say they thought they were going to die. They say they have never been so afraid in their lives. Dr. Choi shook his head sadly. Captain, we may have just traumatized an entire species' first contact with aliens. They will probably have nightmares about humans for generations. On the bridge of the Harmony's light, Captain Kyle could barely believe what he was hearing. The terrible aliens with their planet-destroying weapons were saying they did not want to fight. Science Officer Nira was indeed crying, as were most of the crew. The relief was overwhelming. Ask them why they came here with such a powerful warship if they wanted to help us, Captain Kale told Engineer Zhel, who was now handling communications since he understood the repair work they had done. When this question was translated and sent to the Retribution, it created an uncomfortable moment of silence on the human bridge. How do we explain this? Asked Commander Sungmin Yoon. How do we tell them that we thought they were going to invade and destroy our worlds? We tell them the truth, Captain Daeho replied. We tell them exactly what happened and hope they can forgive us. Over the next 2 hours, a remarkable conversation took place between the two ships. Slowly, carefully, with many misunderstandings and corrections, the full story of the miscommunication emerged. The humans learned that the Villani had never encountered another spacefaring species. They had no military, no weapons beyond tools, and no understanding of interstellar warfare. The idea that someone might respond to a distress call with a warship was completely alien to them. The Villani learned that humans lived in a galaxy where they assumed unknown signals might be threats. They learned that humanity had built powerful weapons because they were afraid of being attacked by hostile aliens. The idea that someone would prepare for war before attempting peaceful contact was completely alien to them. "Captain," Dr. Choi said after listening to several exchanges, "I think we need to understand how different our species really are. They have never fought a war, not just with aliens but with each other. They have no word in their language for enemy or invasion or conquest. What do they do when they have disagreements? They talk until they find a solution that makes everyone happy. The concept of winning by making someone else lose does not exist in their culture." Lieutenant Commander Park looked troubled. "Sir, how do we explain human history to beings like that? How do we tell them about our wars, our weapons, our fears?" "Very carefully," Deho replied. "And honestly. When the Villani learned about human military history, their reaction was a mixture of horror and confusion. The idea that intelligent beings would kill each other over resources or territory or ideas was so foreign to them that they had difficulty accepting it as real. They want to know if all humans are warriors? Untranslated, they want to know if we have scientists and artists and teachers, or if everyone in our species fights. Tell them that most humans are peaceful. Tell them that we have many scientists and artists and teachers. Tell them that we only built weapons because we were afraid of meeting dangerous aliens, that they want to know why we assumed aliens would be dangerous." This question struck at the heart of human nature in a way that made everyone on the bridge uncomfortable. Why had humanity assumed that aliens would be hostile? Why had their first response been to send a warship instead of a diplomatic vessel? "Tell them," Deho said slowly, "that humans have learned to be careful because our own history taught us that first contact can be dangerous. Tell them that we wanted to be prepared to protect ourselves if necessary." The response from the Villani was immediate and heartbreaking. They say they understand now why we were afraid. They say they are sorry that humans have lived with such fear. They want to know if we can be friends instead of enemies. Captain Deho felt something shift inside him. These beings had every reason to hate and fear humanity. Humans had pointed world-destroying weapons at them and terrified them beyond description. But instead of anger or demands for revenge, they were offering friendship. "Tell them yes," Deho said. "Tell them we would very much like to be friends." "Sir," Engineer Lee called out, "I have been monitoring their ship's systems. Their navigation array is completely dead. They really are lost out here. With your permission, I would like to offer technical assistance." "Granted. Work with their engineer to see what we can do to help." As the two crews began working together to repair the Villani ship, something remarkable happened. Despite the language barriers and the cultural differences, scientists and engineers from both species found common ground in their shared love of knowledge and discovery. Engineer Lee worked with Villani engineer Zell to understand their navigation. Technology. Dr. Choi exchanged information with Science Officer Nira about their respective methods of studying space phenomena. Even the military officers found themselves fascinated by the aliens' completely different approach to problem solving. "Captain," Dr. Choi reported after several hours of cultural exchange, "I am learning incredible things about their society. They have eliminated disease, poverty, and conflict on their home world, not through technology or force but through cooperation and understanding. How is that possible? They never developed the concept of scarcity leading to competition. When they have problems, everyone works together to solve them. No one